They say you never really know your old friends, not after years apart. That night, I learned the truth. Because while I thought I was just crashing on a buddy's couch outside Calgary, someone or something was already waiting for me in the spare room. It started simple. I'd spent a few days visiting friends in Calgary and was getting ready for the long drive home to Edmonton. That's when I got a message from an old high school friend, Bob. We hadn't spoken in years. He'd seen my post on Instagram and sent a quick message. "You heading out today? I live just outside Calgary now. Stop by, man." It felt nostalgic, like stepping back into an old chapter of my life. So I said, sure, why not one last stop before home? The GPS said it'd take about an hour and a half. By the time I pulled up, the sun was low and the clouds above the Rockies were rolling in thick and heavy. Bob's place sat at the edge of some farmland, a quiet old-fashioned house surrounded by fields and a line of dark pine. It wasn't run down, just still. The kind of still that doesn't move even when the wind does.
I remember thinking, why did this place feel so quiet? Like the silence wasn't empty, but occupied. Bob answered the door, grinning ear to ear. He hadn't changed much, just older, heavier, more weathered. He hugged me, clapped me on the back, and said, "Man, it's been forever. Come in." The house smelled faintly of cedar and something older. Dust, maybe, or something that hadn't been aired out in a while. Inside, everything felt preserved, like I'd stepped into a time capsule from the 1970s. Patterned carpet, floral wallpaper, and a big old record player in the corner, still humming faintly. We caught up for hours, drank whiskey, ordered Chinese, laughed like the years hadn't happened at all.
Eventually, Bob leaned back and said, "You're not driving tonight, man. Roads will ice up fast. Just crash here." He wasn't wrong. I'd had enough whiskey to feel the room tilt. So I nodded, half drunk and half grateful. "Couch okay?" I asked. "Nah," he said. "I got a spare room down the hall. Better than the couch." He led me down a narrow hallway. The house creaked under every step, and the air got noticeably cooler the farther we went. The spare room door opened with a slow groan. Inside, everything was still. Too still. The air felt stale, like it hadn't been breathed in for a long time. There was a bed, a closet, and a faint draft whispering through the vent. "Holler if you need anything," Bob said, and disappeared back down the hall. I remember sitting on the bed and thinking how heavy the silence felt in that room, as if the air itself was waiting for something. You know that feeling when you're being watched? When it's not sound or sight, just the certainty that you're not alone. Yeah, that. At some point in the night, I woke up, dry-mouthed, head pounding, moonlight spilling weakly through the blinds. That's when I saw it. Across the room, next to the closet door, a shape hung there. At first, I thought it was a long black coat on a rack, but there was something off. Too broad in the shoulders, too defined in the neck. A human outline. My throat went dry. It didn't move, didn't breathe, but it felt aware, like it was watching me watch it. I closed my eyes, told myself I was imagining things, that I'd had too much to drink. When I opened them again, it was still there. I rolled over, forcing myself to ignore it. The floor creaked once as I turned. Just one long, deliberate groan from the boards. If you woke up and saw a figure standing in the corner, would you turn on the light or pretend you hadn't seen it? Morning came slow. My head throbbed, and a weak light bled through the blinds. I sat up, and the corner was empty. No coat, no shadow. Just the open closet door swaying slightly. My stomach twisted. I stumbled out into the hall, barefoot on the cold floor, and went straight to Bob's room. He was dead asleep, snoring like a chainsaw. I shook him awake. "Bob, hey, where's that black coat in the spare room?" He blinked, confused. "What coat?" "The one hanging on the closet door," I said. "It looked like someone standing there." Bob rubbed his eyes. "Man, I don't even have a coat rack in that room." The blood drained from my face. "Come on, I'll show you," I said,
and dragged him back down the hall. The door creaked open again, the same heavy air spilling out. The room was empty. No coat, no marks, no explanation. Bob frowned, arms crossed. "You sure you weren't dreaming?" "I wasn't dreaming, Bob." We searched the house from top to bottom. Locked windows, untouched doors, no signs of entry. Nothing.
But here's the part I can't stop thinking about. If there really wasn't a coat, then what had been standing there, watching me breathe? By morning, I packed up and left. Bob waved from the porch, but I could tell he was shaken too. The whole drive back to Edmonton, I kept seeing it in my mind. That silhouette by the closet, the faint creak of the floorboards, the way the air had felt thick, like someone else was still in the room. Maybe I dreamed it. Maybe it was the whiskey. Or maybe someone or something had been standing there all along and just decided to leave before sunrise.
There's something about night shifts that makes time feel wrong. The silence isn't peaceful. It's loaded. Every hum of the fridge, every flicker of the lights starts to sound like footsteps. But what if one night it really is footsteps? And what if the person making them isn't supposed to be there? I work at a small 24-hour diner off the Trans-Canada Highway, about 40 minutes outside Calgary. Nothing glamorous, just a stop for long-haul truckers and road trippers looking for caffeine and quiet before pushing deeper into the dark. My friend Rick, who owns the place, gave me the job when I hit a rough patch. Said I'd like it because nobody ever bothers you after midnight. He wasn't wrong. Most nights are dead quiet. A couple coffees, some eggs and bacon, and then hours of silence. Just me, the hum of the fridge, and the occasional sound of semis rolling past. That night, around 1 a.m., a pair of truckers pulled in. Headlights swept across the diner windows, slicing through the darkness. They ordered 2 black coffees to go, standard stuff. One went to use the restroom, while the other leaned against the counter, rubbing his eyes. He looked dead tired, but what he asked next hit me like a punch. "Hey, you're not here alone, are you?" You ever have someone ask a question that immediately changes the temperature of the room? That was one of those moments. I hesitated, but told him the truth. "Yeah, just me tonight. It's been slow." He frowned. "Huh. Thought maybe you had a coworker or something. I saw a guy walking around the side of the building when we pulled in." I froze. "You sure?" "Pretty sure," he said. "Didn't look like staff to me." They thanked me for the coffee, climbed back into their truck, and pulled off into the night, taillights fading down the empty highway. The diner fell silent again. I went to the window and looked out across the parking lot. Nothing. Checked the side of the building, too. Still nothing. Maybe they were just tired, seeing shadows. But something about the way that trucker said it, a calm, warning tone, stuck with me. If someone told you they saw a stranger outside your workplace at 1 a.m., would you go look or lock every door and pretend you didn't hear it? I grabbed a flashlight, stepped outside, and circled the diner, snow crunching beneath my boots. No one, just black forest surrounding the building. You could almost feel the trees watching. I didn't linger. Went back in, locked the doors, and told myself I was being paranoid. Hours crawled by. No more customers, no more trucks. Just that awful dead hour between 2 and 3 a.m. when time feels stuck. I decided to take a quick bathroom break. I was scrolling on my phone, trying to stay awake, when I heard the front door creak open. I froze. It was unmistakable, the soft, mechanical sound of the diner door. "Welcome in," I called out automatically. But when I stepped out, the dining area was empty. Every booth, every counter stool, empty. I checked outside. No headlights, no cars. The door wasn't flimsy, and the air was still. That's when the silence turned heavy, like the whole diner was listening. Sometimes it's not what you see that scares you.
It's realizing what you heard was real and there's no one there to explain it. Trying to shake it off, I went back to washing dishes behind the counter. The sound of running water, metal clanking, almost drowned out the noise behind me. Almost. A soft shuffle. Then the floor creaked. I turned off the water, listening hard, and that's when a man stepped out from the back hallway. He looked to be in his 40s. Gray beard, messy hair, a dark blue hoodie that looked 2 sizes too big. He smiled, too casually, and sat down at the counter. "Coffee, please." My mouth went dry. I hadn't heard him come in. Hadn't seen a car pull up. Still, I nodded and brewed his cup, feeling his eyes drilling into my back. When I handed it to him, he didn't touch it right away. Just stared. "Just you here, huh? Bet it gets lonely. Not many people around this time of night."
When someone already knows you're alone, why do they have to ask? I forced a laugh. Yeah, sometimes. But it's quiet. I don't mind. He smiled again. Same wrong smile. Stayed silent for a long moment, then drained his coffee in one slow gulp. "Good stuff," he said. "See you around." He walked toward the highway. No car waiting, no lights. Just disappeared into the dark. I watched until he was swallowed by it. The air inside the diner suddenly felt colder. I locked the door and stayed behind the counter, pretending to clean while my pulse thundered in my ears. Was that the man the truckers saw? Had he been watching the diner all night? About 20 minutes later, I heard another door open. Not the front, the side one. The service store by the dumpster. I stepped out from behind the counter, heart hammering, and saw the hallway light flicker. The utility closet door was still swinging, like someone had just slipped through it. That was enough for me. I bolted outside, jumped in my car, and called the RCMP as I tore onto the highway. When the officers arrived, they searched the building. They found him. The same man, hiding inside the utility closet. He had rope in his backpack, and buried out back, they found tools, duct tape, and things that made even the cops go quiet. He'd been waiting, watching, confirming that I was alone. They caught him, thank God. He's locked up now. But sometimes, when I pull another late shift, I still find myself glancing toward that side door. Because that's what haunts me most. Not what he did, but how long he was there before I even knew it. Snow muffles sound. That's what makes winter nights so eerie. How even a scream can vanish into the cold before anyone hears it. I used to work night shifts at a roadside motel near Canmore, Alberta. And one night, during a snowstorm, I realized not every guest who checks in checks out. It was one of those nights when the snow just wouldn't quit. The highway outside the motel was buried in white, and I hadn't seen a single car in over an hour. I was covering the late shift for a friend, manning the front desk and keeping the place from freezing over. The old space heater rattled at my feet, the lights flickered every few minutes, and the only sound was the faint whistle of wind sneaking through the cracks. It was peaceful, the kind of peace that's always just one sound away from breaking. Around 11:30, a dark pickup truck pulled in, headlights cutting through the blizzard like twin ghosts. A man stepped out, tall, thin, wearing a heavy brown parka and gloves. He came inside, brushing snow from his shoulders. His face was pale, eyes bloodshot, like he'd been awake too long. "Road's bad tonight," he said. "Got a room open?" I handed him the form and took his payment. "You're lucky," I said. "You got the last one." He smirked faintly. "Guess I'm luckier than most." But it didn't feel like luck. It felt like coincidence. And I've learned, working nights, that coincidences don't happen at 11:30 in a snowstorm. I gave him room 6, the one at the far end of the hall. Quiet, private, always cold. He thanked me, took the key, and vanished down the hallway. That's when the heater died. The silence that followed was so deep, it hurt my ears. Then, faintly, through the snowstorm outside, I heard another engine. I looked out the frosted window. No headlights, just swirling white.
An hour passed. I was filling out paperwork when I heard it. A sharp knock, knock, knock coming from down the hall. Not from the lobby doors, from the guest hallway. It echoed again, 3 more knocks. Slow, deliberate, like whoever it was wanted me to count them. "Front desk?" I called out. "Everything okay?" No response. The hall lights buzzed softly, and the air smelled faintly like wet wool and cold metal. I grabbed the spare flashlight and started down the corridor. Room 6's door was slightly open. You know that split second before you push open a door, when every instinct in your body screams, "Don't"? That's exactly what this felt like. "Sir?" I said, my voice low. "You all right in there?" The room was dark. The window was open, snow blowing in through the gap, but the guest was gone. I checked the bathroom, the closet, nothing. The room looked untouched except for a coffee mug on the table, steam still rising from it. He couldn't have gone far, not in this weather. I went back to the front desk, uneasy, and picked up the phone to call the RCMP, just in case something had happened on the road. That's when I noticed something on the guest log. He hadn't written a last name, just Mark, room 6. It's funny how small details only stand out when it's already too late. Around 2 a.m., a knock on the glass front door nearly made me drop the phone. A woman stood outside, soaked, shaking, her hair clinging to her face. She didn't look like she'd driven here. She looked like she'd walked. I rushed to let her in, but when I unlocked the door, she didn't move. She just looked at me through the glass.
"You're alone here?" she asked, voice muffled by the storm. The question hit me like a déjà vu nightmare. "No," I said quickly. "Guests. One's in room 6. Her expression darkened. "No one's in room 6. I blinked, confused. "Ma'am, he checked in around 11. "That room's mine," she said. "I run this place." If she ran the motel, then who the hell had I checked in 2 hours ago?
She pulled a set of keys from her coat and let herself in. Her hands were trembling. "I live on the property. I was gone for the holidays." "Then who?" I started, but she cut me off. "Show me the logbook." Her eyes went wide when she saw the name. "He came here years ago," she whispered. "Mark. He rented that same room during a storm. He never left." My blood ran cold. "What do you mean, never left?" "We found his truck down by the ravine the next morning, empty. His body was never recovered." Before I could respond, a loud creak echoed from the hall. We both turned toward the corridor. The door to room 6 was open again, swaying gently in the draft. A wet footprint marked the linoleum, bare, human, and leading out of the room. They stopped halfway down the hall, then disappeared into nothing. The woman whispered a prayer under her breath. "He always comes back when the snow's heavy." Some guests don't need a key. They already know the way in.
By dawn, the storm had passed. The woman thanked me for staying, though neither of us slept a minute. When I stepped outside to shovel the front walkway, I noticed something near the edge of the parking lot. A single, fresh footprint in the snow. It led toward the woods, but there were no tracks leading back. I don't work at that motel anymore, but sometimes when the wind howls against my window, I swear I can still hear the 3 knocks, slow, deliberate, counting. And I always wonder, when room 6 opens again, who'll be the next one to check in?